Okay, so when you think of the most successful pirate in history, who's the first name that pops into your head? Blackbeard? Calico Jack? Well, get ready, because today we're talking about someone who makes them all look like amateurs. Ching Shih, the undisputed pirate queen of the South China Sea.
Just look at these numbers. It's not even a competition. On one side, you've got Ching Shih's armada. We're talking over 1,800 ships and a crew of 80,000 pirates. And on the other side, the infamous Blackbeard, with just 4 ships and maybe 300 men. The scale of her operation was absolutely mind-boggling. This wasn't just a pirate fleet, it was a naval superpower that could go toe-to-toe with actual nations.
So who was the woman behind this massive empire? This is one of the very few images we have of her. Her story is pretty incredible. It doesn't start on the high seas, but in the deepest poverty you can imagine, in 1775 China. She was forced to work on a floating brothel, where she had to learn how to navigate a world run by powerful men, using her wits just to survive. And it was there that she caught the attention of a pirate commander named Zheng Yi, and her entire life was about to change forever.
Yeah, her journey is one of the most unbelievable in all of maritime history. I mean, going from the absolute bottom of society to commanding a pirate confederation that held the South China Sea in its grip, let's dive into how she pulled it off. The force she would lead was called the Red Flag Fleet. And you've got to understand, this wasn't just some disorganized group of thugs, it was a massive, highly structured confederation. So when her husband Zheng Yi died in 1807, everyone probably expected her to just disappear. Nope. Instead, she brilliantly outmaneuvered all her rivals and grabbed absolute control for herself.
So how on earth do you manage an army of 80,000 outlaws? Well, turns out you don't do it with chaos, you do it with order. Ching Shih's empire was built on ruthless efficiency and a strict code of conduct that was frankly as brilliant as it was brutal.
And this is what really blows my mind. Sure, disobeying an order got you killed instantly. That's kind of Pirate 101. But look at this other stuff. Raping female captives was also punishable by death. That was almost unheard of. And it shows an insane level of discipline. And the loot? It wasn't a free-for-all. Everything had to be brought in for group inspection. You, the pirate who captured it, got to keep 20%. The other 80%? It went into a common fund to pay for supplies and repairs for the whole fleet. She was basically running her pirate empire like a massive corporation, rewarding loyalty and discipline over just pure greed.
But let's be crystal clear here. This was not a Robin Hood story. This was a brutal, brutal regime. The Red Flag Fleet was like a floating government, and it charged coastal towns and villages taxes for protection. And what happened if a village refused to pay up? Well, the consequences were horrifying. This number, 10,000, represents the villagers they killed on a single raid. It was a terrifying message to anyone who even thought about defying them.
Her power just kept growing, so much so that she went up against the Qing Imperial Navy itself, and she won. Again and again, she not only beat the government's warships, she absorbed them. When sailors were captured, they had a pretty simple choice: join us or die. You can bet a lot of them chose to join, which just made her ranks swell and her fleet even stronger with every victory. And this right here is where the legend of Ching Shih really takes off. You know the story. The undefeated pirate queen who brought an entire empire to its knees and then just retired because she got bored of winning. It's an amazing story. But like with most history, the real story is so much more complicated, and honestly, it's way more impressive.
That whole legend of the undefeated queen, it slams right into a brick wall with this one simple historical fact. It wasn't the Qing dynasty or the British that finally stopped her. It was the small but technologically superior Portuguese navy that was operating out of nearby Macau.
Okay, so if she was defeated in battle, how in the world did she manage to retire rich and peaceful? Why does the popular version of her story just kind of skip over this really important part? Let's break down what actually went down.
It all came to a head at the Battle of the Boca do Tigre, which means tiger's mouth. Over a few months, the Portuguese Navy kept engaging the Red Flag Fleet. Now, Ching Shih had the numbers, no question, but the Portuguese had purpose-built warships with better long-range cannons. They could just sit back and blast her fleet to pieces from a safe distance. By January 1810, a huge chunk of her fleet was trapped, getting bombarded, and basically facing total destruction.
And this, right here, is where you see Ching Shih's true genius. She was facing certain military defeat. She could have fought to the last ship, but she didn't. She pivoted. She turned a crushing military loss into what has to be one of the greatest retirement plans in all of history.
So you've got to picture the situation. She was completely boxed in. The Portuguese had her trapped. At the same time, the Qing government was cleverly breaking up her pirate alliance, getting rival fleets to turn on her. But the emperor was also just sick and tired of the endless fighting, so he offered amnesty to any pirate who surrendered. Ching Shih saw her chance. She walked away from the battle, marched right into the governor general's office, and negotiated an absolutely unbelievable deal. She and her entire crew got a full pardon, they were allowed to keep all their treasure, and a lot of her men even got jobs working for the government.
And Ching Shih herself? She walked away a free, respected, and incredibly rich woman. She settled down, opened her own gambling house, and died peacefully in her bed at 69 years old, with her family around her. For a pirate commander, from any time, anywhere in the world, an ending like that is basically a fairy tale. Her real success wasn't just the raw power she had, but the fact that she was smart enough to know when to fold 'em and walk away with the jackpot.
So that begs the question, right? Why do we stick to this simplified myth of the undefeated queen, when the real story of her turning a total military disaster into a stunning political victory is so much more fascinating? Well, the historical record is kind of a mess. For starters, the pirates themselves didn't keep detailed logbooks. The official Chinese records were pretty reluctant to admit just how powerful a female pirate had become. And the accounts we have from captured Europeans, they only saw a tiny piece of the puzzle. Then you've got these bigger historical biases. Pirate history tends to get stuck on the Caribbean's golden age, so incredible figures from other parts of the world get overlooked. And of course, a lot of early histories downplayed her role as the leader, focusing on her male second-in-command instead.
So I'll leave you with this question. What's actually more impressive? A legendary, undefeated warrior who never lost? Or a real-life master strategist who knew exactly when to fight, when to fold, and how to turn certain death into a long, peaceful, and wealthy retirement? Maybe that's what makes her the most successful pirate in history.